What's up, addicts? In this video, we're going to be breaking down the Week 3 game between the Houston Roughnecks and the Tampa Bay Vipers. But if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Alright guys, so as I said, we're breaking down, looking at the fantasy stats here for the Houston Roughnecks, Tampa Bay Vipers. Final score on this one, Houston 34, Tampa Bay 27. This one hit the over and honestly was one of the more interesting games on the week. Definitely a little bit more higher scoring than we were projecting, but overall we did expect this game to be a lot closer. Tampa Bay performed much better at home, but they still had quite a few mistakes, and then Houston continues to roll on offense. Looks like they might end up being unstoppable at this point. Looking at the stats here, beginning with Houston, Philip Walker dominating yet again, 24 of 36 for 306 yards and 3 touchdowns. All of which went to Cam Phillips, but we'll get into that in a second. On the ground, we had James Butler there with 7 carries for 72 yards, including a 30-yard long. Also, Philip Walker with 4 carries for 34 yards and a rushing touchdown. So 4 touchdowns on the day for Philip Walker. Just another dominant fantasy performance. This is his second time now in 3 weeks that pretty much won you your week compared to all the other quarterbacks out there. Looking over at the receivers, Cam Phillips flipping doing it again. 10 targets, 8 catches for 194 yards, including an 84-yard touchdown, 3 touchdowns on the day. Now that 84-yard touchdown was just an absolute blown coverage play. There was no safety. Well, I guess the safety crept up, and then the cornerback that was on him just completely got faked out. So good route by Cam Phillips, but just overall complete lapse of defensive structure for Tampa Bay on that play. The other 2 touchdowns were very impressive as well. Khalil Lewis was the next most targeted receiver here, 9 targets, 6 receptions for 41 yards. Sam Mobley also looked pretty decent in this game, 4 targets, 2 catches, 41 yards. Sammy Coates only coming through with 3 targets on the day, 1 catch for 11 yards. Those 2 targets were pretty deep bombs, but overall still very disappointing performance from Sammy Coates. Nick Hawley also very disappointing today. Had 1 attempt for 1 yard on the ground, and then 3 targets for 2 catches and 7 yards. James Butler also padding his rushing day a little bit with 3 catches for 5 yards. If you guys want to see an entire replay of this game, though, make sure you check out my condensed replay here. You can see the entire game in under 30 minutes. All right, jumping over to the Tampa Bay Vipers. Now, we were thinking that Aaron Murray was looking like he might come back, but he ended up sitting out another week here. So we had the tandem of Taylor Cornelius and Quentin Flowers. Again, looked better this week than they did against Seattle, but still some mishaps overall. Taylor Cornelius, 16 of 31, 193 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception near the end of the game. And then Quentin Flowers, 4 completions on 6 attempts for 51 yards. They only used him pretty much for 2 drives, and Taylor Cornelius was in the game for the entirety of the rest of the game. Devian Smith looked really good in this one. Definitely took back that running back dominance that we saw in week 1. 15 carries, 49 yards. Also had 2 receptions on 4 targets for 36 yards. Jacques Patrick looked nowhere near what he did last week. Had 10 carries, so still getting about 2/3 of the running back carries here, but 18 yards in total and only 2 catches for 11 yards. So really disappointing day. Thought we might have a decent two-headed backfield here, but it's looking like Devian Smith is still the only running back that's worth starting for fantasy right now. And jumping over to the receivers, Jalen Tolliver definitely was the biggest surprise on the day. 13 targets, 8 receptions, and 104 yards. I mean, he had quite a few really good grabs. He wasn't really targeted too much last week or the previous week, so I'm trying not to read too much into this one because Dan Williams still looked really good. He also had 7 targets, only 2 catches on the day for 35 yards, but had that nice 20-yard score. And then Reese Horn still getting a decent amount of targets there, 6 targets for 5 receptions and 34 yards. Definitely going to be a name to look at on the waiver wire, but I'm still going to be hesitant to start Jalen Tolliver until we actually see some consistency here, even amongst this team. They're not. This is the first week that they've actually given up a decent amount of yards on the day from the defensive perspective. The offense shouldn't typically have to score this many points. Houston's just in a class of their own. So Jalen Tolliver might be a bit of a smokescreen for us right now. And then Nick Truesdale was also out this game, so his replacement, DeAndre Goolsby, came out. He had 3 targets, but only 1 catch for 24 yards. So a pretty disappointing day if you ended up having to start him in place of Nick Truesdale. So again, like we had said originally, we were expecting Houston to win this game. We were expecting it to be closer. All of that happened. Just we weren't expecting Cam Phillips to get 3 more touchdowns. Right now, he's on a ridiculous pace after scoring 7 touchdowns in the first 3 games. Just absolutely insane. So we'll see how much that can continue, but it seems like the main takeaway here is if you have Philip Walker and Cam Phillips, those 2 guys alone might win you your league. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to be posting a ton of updates to our website this week, so make sure you check that out at fantasyaddictionnetwork.com, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for XFL content posted daily. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.